what's your reporting on Aaron Rodgers' whereabouts last week and the residual effects of it, Tom?
I've had a lot of conversations about Aaron Rodgers and the state of the Jets. I would fairly say that it's safe to assume Aaron Rodgers had something that had been long pre-planned that could only take place last weekend and was not taking place in the greater New York, New Jersey area. Everyone I have talked to has consistently said this is not something that is going to have, carryover into training camp or the regular season. It's not going to hamper them on the field. Really not going to hamper him in the locker room. He was awesome through the course of OTAs. Of course, he's coming back from the Achilles and everything. I think that this is, to a certain degree, Rich, yes, it's a story because it became a story and because this is so out of the ordinary. For a player to miss a mandatory minicamp and eat $100,000 in fines for a reason that's not contract related. However, everything with Aaron Rodgers is out of the ordinary. He's 40 years old. He's a mainstay on political talk shows. He's got a documentary that's being made about him. He experiments in plant medicine. He tried to come back from an Achilles tear in like 4 months. Nothing is ever quite normal here. But by the time that we get to training camp, besides the fact that Aaron Rodgers now is going to have to answer for where exactly he was, which I think if there's anything, Rich, that was a little bit surprising in all this, it's that Aaron Rodgers could have cleaned it up with one tweet, one quote at some point. Hey, don't even say where you're going if you don't want to. Just like, hey, worked this out months ago, got something that I have to do this weekend, but love my boys, see him in training camp. He hadn't said anything. And so until he does, until he shows up on a certain other talk show or he goes to the podium or puts out a tweet or an Instagram post or whatever, there's going to be a lot of speculation about it. I don't get the sense that anybody is really concerned about the impact that it has on the team. However, Rich, you got 32 teams in the NFL. 31 of them got to spend their mini camp week celebrating, hey, we a lot of positive progress. We're finishing on a high note. We all know a lot of teams aren't going to be competitive, but nobody's won or lost a game at this time of year. You're supposed to celebrate. What a great offseason program. We're all ready to go. And poor Robert Saleh had to stand up there for 2 days looking like he had just watched Zach Wilson throw 4 more interceptions and answer questions from reporters about where the hell his quarterback was. Once you get past that piece of it, I don't anticipate that there's a massive impact here, but is it going to be a story up until training camp? Absolutely.
Well, here's my prediction, Tom, is we won't hear from Rodgers until some local reporter at the Tahoe event he's playing golf in will find him, and he'll be willing to say something. It might be a reporter that he knows from any Northern California days or anything like that, and he'll, make light of it by also giving a jab at anybody that thought it was something that he was causing a problem. And my only concern, though, is the headlines that were created. A couple of newspapers went all in on him. And how will he handle that? And how will that be handled? Will that create, as well as the back and forth that will happen at the top of training camp, will that create any issue for a post-game press conference after he loses a game, which will happen? And will that then potentially cause an issue down the road?
That's exactly it.
That's the one thing.
Yeah,
that's the one thing.
The story is that it has become a story.
Right.
And this was just, it's completely self-inflicted. It didn't need to be a thing. Again, there's a lot of different ways that they could have tackled it. If he misses the previous week's OTAs, which are voluntary, and he showed up for every OTA, and is back from minicamp, we're not talking about it. It's
Correct.
just, it's so out of the ordinary that it becomes a thing. And yeah, there's going to be certain people, whether it's in the media or fans, who are going to constantly throw that back in your face. If you don't play well, come week 1, if things go bad, there's going to be a lot of questions about it. It's just, it's a different thing. Nothing's ever normal with the Jets. Everything I've heard, Rich, out of minicamp, which you can take to heart as a Jets fan, is that this team right now, through the course of the offseason, looks better than the 2023 team did. And I'm not talking the 2023 team that started like 7 different quarterbacks. I'm talking about the offseason and what they looked like. Year 2 in this offense, they've gotten better along the offensive line. They got some big young running backs who have been really impressive through the course of camp, not just Breece Hall, but some of the other guys that they've brought in here. Mike Williams has been really good for building. You fully anticipate they're going to be good on defense as well. it's a tough spot when you're the guy who came out in January and said, we need to get the BS, the distractions out of the building. And then you create the dictionary definition of a distraction, which is the final phase of the off season. And every one of your coaches and teammates has to go up there and answer questions about why you had something more important to do than be on the field. It may not impact you. It's the same reps you would get, OTAs and everything else. It's a tough spot that certain people, namely Robert Saleh, were put in the organization. Aaron, at some point, is going to have to answer that. I have interviewed Aaron on the putting green at Tahoe, Rich. So he does do that.
Yes.
Part of his warm up, he will hit the putting green. So I'd encourage, Sam Farmer, whoever is in the in the locale there, to just stake out the putting green. That's probably the best spot to get him.
Well, that is definitely the next, one would think, public appearance to expect him at, because he does love that tournament, and the tournament loves him. And we'll see. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.